Welcome back to the LD Aviation Podcast, the place where we explore the people, ideas, and innovations that keep business aviation moving forward. I'm your host, Lindsay Dyer, and today's episode is one I've been especially excited about for a while, and today we finally get to do it. My guest today is someone who's reshaping that space in a way that's not only smart, but also deeply practical. And it's Mark Melby, the founder and CEO of Aloft Evermore. If you've been in business aviation for any length of time, you know that keeping an aircraft flying smoothly isn't just about fixing what breaks. It's about anticipating, forecasting, and coordinating an entire ecosystem of people and systems before the next event ever hits the schedule. So Mark brings over 18 years in aviation maintenance and operations, and he's taken all that hands-on experience to build something truly transformative. It's an AI-powered maintenance planning platform that helps flight departments and owners plan smarter, save time, and make better informed decisions about their aircraft. But what I love most about this conversation is that it's not just about technology. It's about mindset. It's about what happens when someone inside the trenches of business aviation looks around and says there has to be a better way. It's about having the courage to rethink the familiar, to take an entrepreneurial leap, and to bring a vision to life that serves the very industry you came from. So today we'll explore how Mark identified the gaps in traditional maintenance planning, how Aloft Evermore bridges those gaps, and how this shift towards intelligent automation is changing the way we all operate. We'll also dig into the heart of entrepreneurship, the challenges, the leadership lessons, and what it really takes to go from being a maintenance professional to building a company that's now helping shape the future of aviation. So whether you're an operator, a scheduler, a dispatcher, or someone dreaming about launching their own idea in aviation, this episode will leave you inspired, informed, and ready to think differently about how we plan and lead. So let's get started. Welcome, Mark.
Hey, Lindsay, thanks for having me on.
So great to have you. I know we've been kind of talking about this for a while, and very excited to have this conversation with you. So let's begin with your kind of origin story, or so to speak. And what was the first thing that drew you into aviation maintenance and operations? Like, how did that path also lead you to founding a software company?
Yeah, it's been quite a journey. I actually originally got into aviation with the plan of being a backcountry bush pilot,
Ah,
um, in which case you have to be able to fix your own airplane. So I started with the maintenance training and got my A&P and um, loved it so much that I just continued down that path instead of getting my pilot's license.
okay. Very cool. Was there like a defining moment in your career anywhere that you were like, hey, I really want to do something entrepreneurial?
Yeah, I mean, I've always wanted to have my own business. It wasn't until much later in my career that I really started to see the opportunities in aviation to do that. I actually started a company several years back to do PT6 engine work and went out on my own and did that for a while. And then slowly, as I kind of to see some of the other needs in the industry, started to kind of pivot more toward the maintenance management aspect of things.
Okay. All right. And I'm just kind of thinking here. So, if you wanted to be a backcountry pilot, that involves quite a bit of risk. Starting your own business definitely comes along with a lot of risk as well. So, it sounds like you're pretty comfortable in that realm,
Yeah, for sure. You definitely have to be okay with some risks to be able to go out on a limb and start a new business.
right? Did do you think kind of I'm trying to tie in like, when you were working towards being a backcountry pilot, did some of those lessons that you learned along the way affect how you lead and innovate now?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I kind of branched away from that path pretty early on. But I did go to a maintenance school that really focused on the problem solving and being able to come up with, fixes for airplanes when you don't have all the resources. And
Hmm.
so, that definitely has an effect on how you approach aircraft maintenance. You're always looking for a new way to solve a problem.
Yep. Yep. Makes sense. Okay, so let's kind of shift then. You started a previous company, and then what was, I guess, the spark or frustration that made you decide to build Aloft Evermore?
Yeah, so that allowed me to really talk to a lot of the smaller flight departments, the owner operators, that that are having to deal with their own maintenance planning and coordination.
Sure.
They don't have their own maintenance team. They don't have a director of maintenance in-house. Um, and from what I was seeing, there are struggles there. I mean, it's a very complex process to go through the whole uh, planning procedure and coordinating with shops and that kind of thing. Um, so I was originally trying to offer like full maintenance management service, kind of a boutique one-on-one kind of thing. And what I was finding is that these smaller operators, they still want the control over their own airplane. They want to be heavily involved and make the decisions. They don't want an outside person coming in and doing it for them.
Okay.
So that's what gave me the idea for Aloft Evermore is to create this tool for them to be able to use to streamline the whole process to make it faster and easier and less complex.
Okay. That really makes sense. Sure. Especially if they're the smaller flight departments. Yeah, I could see that also would be difficult. I mean, is it quite expensive to have a full on management company deal with that versus using an
Yeah,
app?
full management can be very, very expensive. It ranges in cost wildly, but it can go anywhere from a few $1,000s a month all the way up to tens of thousands of dollars a month, depending on the company and the aircraft size. Um,
Sure.
so that's where this tool comes in as a very affordable option in relation to that,
All right. Heck, and when everybody's always looking at budget and numbers, that's really important piece. When
for sure.
you that you've been now that you've been working in the company and everything, any big hurdles that you want to share with us and how you pushed through those?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing for me was even though I've been involved in business aviation for many years, um, when I launched the software, trying to get the marketing out there and kind of get into the inner circle, if you will, of business aviation is tough to do. It's a tight-knit group of people, and um, it can be tough for an outsider to really break in and make relationships. But now that I'm in it and I'm meeting people like yourself and a lot of the other influential people in the industry, that's when it really starts to take off, and people introduce you to other people, and once you're in, it's fantastic.
Oh, I think you've made a good point, though. Uh, a lot of this comes down to the networking. It's the relationships that you have. So it's important to be out there and talking to people. It is very hard to break in. Uh, it is. It's a very tight circle, this business aviation. Good point. So,
Hmm.
all right. So let's talk some more about the app that Aloft Evermore offers. So, for someone who might not have ever seen it, how would you describe uh, perhaps the company and the app in general?
Yeah, so Aloft Evermore, as the overall company, um, we provide software tools for business aviation. And we can talk more about that later. I've got another app that we'll be rolling out here shortly. But the current app is the Aloft Evermore Maintenance Manager app. And so that is currently focused on citation jets. So the whole family of citations. Eventually, we'll be expanding that, but to start with, that's kind of what we're focusing on. And what it does is it allows for you to upload a 3-year due list, and then we break that down into projects over the next several years. So you can see when your aircraft is going to be down, what to expect for downtime, what to anticipate for budgeting. And that way you know way in advance what to expect for your schedule. And then the next step of the process is the quoting process. So as you're coming up on a project, you can blast out quote requests to multiple shops in your area and then easily compare just the key numbers of, cost, downtime, distance, shop rating, that kind of thing, and just quickly pick a quote that fits your needs. And then the final feature of that is to upload all your maintenance paperwork, so your logbook entries, your invoices, that kind of thing, and then that gets reviewed and compared to each other and checked for errors and duplicate charges and that kind of thing.
Wow. Okay, I have so many additional questions, I think. So, one that seems really user friendly for somebody who's even like if you've never done it, it feels like I could do that if I needed to. Like it would walk me through everything step by step. And while I don't do the maintenance side, I definitely do the fuel side. And I assume the
Hmm.
maintenance part is similar in terms of there's all sorts of possibilities for error in billing. Possibly not done on purpose, but at least on my side, when I'm doing the fuel, I oftentimes, well, the gallons were actually 759, not 859. And it catches that, or perhaps the pricing is wrong. So that sounds great. And so you're using AI to do a lot of this behind the scenes. Like, is it recognizing all that?
Right. Right now, the AI is just kind of a tool on the back end. We don't have it fully integrated into the app yet, but that's in the works. Um, but yeah, it's AI is a great tool for, comparing documents. It can pull all the data out and compare it and flag anything like that. Um, you know, Eventually the app will probably be, 95% AI, with just a little bit of human oversight to make sure that, everything gets caught and everything is in order. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be almost fully automated at some point.
That is so cool. I love the cool new tools and products that are out there that are, you know, using AI. Uh, I really enjoy that. So, okay. Oh, do you want to talk a little bit about your new app that's coming in?
Sure. So we just finished production on Evermore RFQ.
Okay.
And so what that is it's basically the quoting function from the maintenance manager app. And we've made it a bit more robust and intuitive, and it'll now be its own standalone app. So it doesn't matter what aircraft make or model you have. It's not restricted to that. You'll be able to go in and choose your radius of how far you're willing to travel, and send out a quote request, and it will automatically filter based on your aircraft model. You can choose if you only want Part 145 repair stations, if you need them to have drug and alcohol programs. Um, and then as those quotes come back in, it will automatically populate again the critical information of cost and downtime and shop rating. And so you'll be able to then directly schedule with the shops right through the app. So it's just
Wow.
super, super user friendly. Um, no more having to email different shops. A lot of the smaller shops that you're not aware of will get visibility.
Okay.
So it's going to be a really great tool. Right now, we're just starting to onboard all of the maintenance providers. So we're getting the database filled up with maintenance providers, and then once we get to the point where the operator will get a good value out of it, then we'll
Yeah.
start opening it up to operators to use.
All right. And I'm assuming essentially if you're emailing, multiple different maintenance repair stations, that probably the pricing is better because they're competing against each other even more than if you might just make one phone call or two phone calls.
For sure. And that's the goal is, they're going to know that you're using Evermore RFQ. They're going to know that you're getting multiple quotes. And something that's tough in the industry is relationships with maintenance providers are a huge part of it.
Sure.
And a lot of operators still prefer to just go to the same shop over and over again,
Hmm.
because they've built a relationship with them.
Yeah.
And I totally get that. And my response when people say that is still get quotes. Still go out there and get a quote from your main shop and get three or four or half a dozen more quotes, and that way you have a little bit of leverage. You're keeping them honest,
Hmm.
and you just know whether or not you're getting a good value for that relationship that you've built.
That totally makes sense. And if you even needed to justify something to the higher ups, you could show it that way as well. Say, look
Yeah,
at what we did.
exactly.
Hmm. I love it. I like what you said too earlier is that it's going to give more visibility to some of the smaller shops. And I obviously am a small business, and so competing up against the real big companies is difficult. And I love anything that would give more visibility to the smaller guys. So,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so often you can get, just as good or better quality service. A lot of times they've got better pricing and more availability than the bigger shops. Um, there are obviously benefits to going to some of the big mainstream shops. They might have a better line on rental engine or something like that, but there are a lot of cases where it just makes sense to go to one of the smaller kind of boutique shops.
yeah. Oh, I love it. Love it. So let's kind of focus a little bit more on operations, maintenance, and strategy. Where do you see maintenance planning fitting into the larger dispatch and operational ecosystem?
Yeah, I mean it's such a pivotal part of that because it's it's non-negotiable, right? You can't just decide to put off the maintenance because when it's due and you have to do it. And so it's so important for maintenance to be, coordinating with the flight scheduling side and operations, and so that everybody knows when the plane needs to go into maintenance, how long it's going to be down, um, you know, and what to expect on the other side of the maintenance visit.
Yep. Oh, I mean, as far as the scheduling side of it, I mean, that's a huge thing for us because when we're talking, maybe that client had expected to go on some big long 30-day trip with his family and everybody's gotten, time off work, his kids are off school, and all of a sudden, oh, sorry, my airplane's not available for 30 days or
Yep.
longer. Yeah, it can make people very angry, not knowing about that in advance.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I recently talked to a small operator um, who schedules all their maintenance around the holidays. They don't schedule anything in like November, December
Hmm.
because the owner flies so much during that time. It makes sense to do their maintenance, a month or 2 months early, just to have that big block of availability.
That makes sense. Totally makes sense. I'm sure the owner appreciates that as well.
Right. Yeah, it's worth doing it a little bit early just to have the flexibility.
And I want to kind of talk about maybe some of these smaller flight departments. Maybe they have, I don't want to say less experienced, but perhaps somebody who hasn't come across issues with scheduling like that. And maybe they don't even know how to plan far out. It sounds like your app really would allow them to do that without much training.
Yeah, for sure. It's not uncommon for those smaller operators to, either just kind of schedule maintenance on the fly. They see their maintenance tracking software says something is coming up, so they hurry up and schedule it and get in the shop. Or they rely on their maintenance provider to tell them when something is coming due,
Oh,
which is not not fair to the maintenance provider and isn't always entirely reliable. And so, really, all they need to do with the Maintenance Manager app is upload a do list. You project out 36 months and upload that PDF, and then we take it from there. And so you'll be able to log in and see all of your upcoming projects. Obviously, utilization changes, and we have to tweak the schedule a bit from there, but at least you have a rough idea of when that plane needs to go in.
And in your app, do you tweak that kind of schedule, the number of hours that you've actually flown in the app, and it adjusts?
Yeah, so the user will go in, we prefer like on a monthly basis at least,
Yeah.
and update their utilization.
Yep.
And so we can see both their projected utilization month by month, as well as their actual numbers, and compare those to have an idea of, is this trend shifting a little bit toward higher or lower utilization? And then, once or twice a year, we can go in and tweak those projects a little bit to make sure that they still align with the utilization.
Okay. And is it very so granular that it would say like, hey, in December of 2026, you're due for this and it will take you this many weeks to complete it?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You'll
Wow.
just be able to see, this will be a December project. It should be down for 10 business days. These are all the tasks that are contained within that project. Um, and this is roughly how much it's going to cost you.
Man, I need that. I need that for my house and my car too.
I know, right? It could really leak into different areas of your life for
It
sure.
really can. It really can because you just, I mean, even like a roof. Okay, so maybe that's 30 years off, but 30 years will show up real quick. Huh. That is so cool. And I'm sorry for all these questions. They may seem very elementary to you, um, partly just because I don't work in that maintenance section as much, but it's fascinating how much you can pre-plan. I've been on the other side of receiving the maintenance schedule, so that's kind of where my next question is going to go for. What's the biggest disconnect you've seen between maintenance teams and their schedulers or dispatchers, and how do we fix that?
Yeah, I mean, communication is just the biggest thing. Is there just needs to be a constant open line of communication between maintenance and flight ops. Um, because while you do have the scheduled maintenance where you can look way out in the future, things break. And so if the plane comes back with a problem and maintenance just dives in and starts fixing it and doesn't let flight ops know, then you're going to try and schedule a flight on it,
Yeah.
and the plane isn't going to be ready to go for that. So there just needs to be a constant open line of back and forth between the two departments.
Yeah. That's exactly where I've been before. I've been trying to schedule the airplane and oh, we took it all apart. We thought it would be a quick fix, but nobody said anything. I've experienced too when the maintenance team, they don't want the aircraft to look like it was down that often. And
Mm,
oftentimes us as schedulers, dispatchers, we want to write in the schedule, oh, it was not available.
mhm.
So, but I guess the communication, like you're saying though, is just so important. Maybe there can be some sort of middle ground there. You know, I think sometimes it felt like to me at least that maintenance was worried that they would look bad because the aircraft was down all the time. When really they were perhaps just doing some light maintenance that wouldn't have had to be done. And anyway, I kind of digress into that part, but I've been on the other receiving side of maintenance schedules. So
Yeah, and I think that's an interesting point that you touched on because I think there can be this stigma that maintenance is a bad thing, right? That, I mean,
right.
in general, downtime of the aircraft is frowned upon, but maintenance is a critical part of keeping that plane operational in between the downtime.
Hmm.
Um, and it's a machine. Machines break and need to get fixed. That I don't think we should be looking at that as a negative aspect of maintenance. We're keeping the airplane flying and in good condition.
I love it. And I suppose you could take it even one step further, that every time the aircraft is, down, it's being worked on. You guys are proving your worth and proving that you're working, and not that you're not. I don't want to say that, but maybe we could start framing it in a different way, that instead of the aircraft being down, it's that the maintenance department is being utilized.
Hmm. For sure.
Cool. Yeah. So, how do you think this app and maybe integrating visibility using an app like this might change how the flight departments operate over the next couple of years?
Yeah, I mean it's hard to say what the future is going to look like, but um, in general, that visibility and the automation involved, um, it's it's going to kind of foolproof the the communication aspect of it. So even if the communication breaks down between departments, flight ops could log into the app and see what the status of the aircraft is and what's coming up, and um, it's kind of a backup to that line of communication.
Yeah, I love it. And that would also limit the number of questions or phone calls you or the maintenance team is going to get, because sometimes that does slow things down. Maybe they're busy and can't answer their phone. If you could just look it up on the app, then you've answered your question and you're done.
Yeah, exactly. And especially for the long-term forecasting of maintenance like that, you don't want to be sitting, having your two departments sit down and plan out the next 3 years together so everybody knows what to expect. So this way, everybody can just tap in on their own time and see what's coming up.
Love it. That's awesome. Okay, so that sounds great. I'm so excited to hear about the new app coming out as well. But let's switch over to entrepreneurship, and because I always love this topic, and I really admire people who jump in because it's not easy. So, first question is really, how did you make that leap from technician to you're really a tech company founder?
Yeah, it's like I was saying earlier, it's been kind of a gradual evolution for me. Um, the tech aspect of it is a pretty steep learning curve. I'm not actually doing the coding myself. I'm working with a local development company that does all the background stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm learning to take my vision and apply that to how it needs to look on a computer or an iPhone or something like that, and communicate that to them. So that's been an interesting learning process for me. Um, it is tough to make that leap, uh, to be self-employed. Um,
Yeah.
Currently I still work in maintenance as well, besides just running the app.
Yep.
Um, so that helps a lot with that risk mitigation.
Yep.
Um, but we'll see what the future holds.
And I think I try and do this as well. When you're actually working in maintenance still, it also keeps you involved in what the day-to-day person is actually, experiencing, which I think will really help your app. Like, I'm sure your app is created for somebody working in maintenance just like you. And you know exactly what it is that they would like to see in the app and how it should be worded and what buttons to push. And that I'm sure makes you the perfect person. Uh,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can't be an entrepreneur and be disconnected from what your customer is experiencing.
yeah. Yep. Um, I kind of want to touch real quick on back in the beginning part. You said that you always wanted to own your own business. Why? Why?
It's tough to put a finger on. It's since I was in high school, I've always been coming up with ideas of businesses to start, or inventions to try and bring to life. And I think it's just something that's built in some people's heads that They just can't shake the idea of doing something new and innovative that is their own product.
Yep. That's funny. When I look back, I never put a name to it that I wanted to own my own business, but when I look back at my life, I've always had some sort of like side gig going on, or creating something else. So I agree. Love the innovation, the creative side of it. It's so fun. Um, let's see, how about what lessons have about leadership have surprised you the most since launching Aloft Evermore or your previous company?
Um, yeah, it's interesting because with both companies, I've been the sole employee of the company,
Yep.
but I'm also working with contractors. So the development contractors, I've got a sales contractor that's helping with that, um, and that's a very different process than dealing with direct reports at a company. Um, it's almost like you're both managing an employee and um, dealing with a customer kind of in the same person, and that's a very different experience.
Yep, it really is. Yep. And I kind of wanted to go back to another thing you had talked about, that you had always wanted to be a business owner and you've created different things. And I think when we get to see the success of a company like Loft Evermore, and um, sometimes you think that it was overnight. People think, oh gosh, he went
Mm.
from 0 to 100, in 30 days or something like that. And at least for me, that's not the way it went. Uh, so I'm curious what your thoughts are kind of on that.
Yeah, it and the more other business owners that I get to know, I see the same trend that Um, well, it does happen sometimes that ideas just take off and are crazy successful right off the bat. It takes grinding, it's
Yeah.
getting traction, especially in an industry like this, that is often a bit opposed to innovation.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes.
it can be hard to get traction and get going. I think in aviation in general, it is not easy to introduce new ideas and new technologies.
I totally agree with you, because I feel like people ask me sometimes, who's your biggest competitor? And I would say the competition is the fact that people just aren't adopting the idea. Like, I'm not
Hmm.
necessarily competing with other companies, which I'd love to, but the whole point of the idea is just I can't get that across to everybody. Not everybody is accepting of like a contract dispatch or probably an app that uses AI for maintenance. So I totally agree that that's got to be a huge hurdle for aviation
For
businesses.
sure. And I see that being the future of the industry is the smaller standalone specialty companies, like yours, like mine, um, that are really starting to get traction and starting to become popular rather than people just relying on a management company to do everything for them.
Yep.
They can choose the individual services that fit their needs the best.
Yep. Oh, I hope more people go that way. I think you really get what you actually want that way too. You just don't get that one size fits all type of thing from large management companies. Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, how about for somebody who's listening right now, they're in aviation and they want to launch some sort of business or product? Because I know there's a lot of people that with things kind of rolling around in their head. But what advice would you give to them to get started?
Talk to people. That is the key topic for when you first start any company. Before you do anything, talk to as many people as you can, get validation, um, because it's great to have a new idea, but you have to make sure that there is a need for that idea.
Yeah.
So ideally, you want to find a problem first
Mm-hmm.
in the industry and then come up with a solution that will help with that problem. Um, but yeah, the more you can validate your product market fit before you invest any time or money into actually developing a product, the better.
Yeah.
I feel like I did a pretty good job of that myself, but
Mm-hmm.
I definitely, in hindsight, could have talked to more pilots, more operators, more maintenance managers, and gotten more feedback right off the bat. I don't think there's a limit to how much input you can get up front.
Yep. That, yeah, it can help shape the trajectory of, maybe what pieces come first, what could be long-term goals. Yeah, great advice.
For sure.
Great advice. Okay, so let's kind of move on towards some topics about future and some industry trends. Um, where do you think the biggest shift in business aviation maintenance will come from in the next couple of years?
I think it is going to be in the technology space as far as, automating and streamlining the processes that can be. The things like paperwork, the maintenance planning. Um, we are always going to need maintenance technicians working on airplanes. That's not something that where AI can take their jobs. We're always going to need the boots on the ground working on the airplanes, but especially with the personnel shortages that are getting worse, we're going to need to replace some of those processes with automations or at least make them easier so that they take fewer man hours to perform.
Which then I would guess those roles of maintenance are going to be, you're going to have to adapt and also be able to run software automation technology in general to be comfortable with that.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's going to take some time to evolve. There's still a lot of people in maintenance specifically that are hesitant to adapt the new technology, but it's going to get to a point where you just don't have a choice. Um, your operation is going to need to make that shift.
Yep. For efficiency, which can, will come down to actual dollars. Yeah, I see it on the scheduling side as well. I see it on the pilot side. Um, if you can't handle running software, automation, using technology, then you're probably going to get phased out.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, so, what's your take on predictive maintenance? Hype or the real future of reliability?
I think there's a little bit of both. I think some of the projections may be a little bit overhyped,
Okay.
but I really do think that is going to have its place kind of in the near future. There's so much data out there with the different like maintenance tracking platforms and now with the digitization of records where everything is searchable. You can really get some good numbers on, when you can expect a starter generator to fail. And so you replace it 100 hours earlier than that so you don't have to worry about um, unexpected downtime for the aircraft.
Mm-hmm.
And so things like that, I really do think that's going to change everything because there will be fewer AOG scenarios where the plane is broken unexpectedly.
Well, I'd love to hear that. I can't wait till more and more of that is, uh, you know, happening. Very cool. Okay. If you had to give operators a simple action to take this month to improve their maintenance efficiency, what would that be?
That goes back to what we've been saying multiple times here is just planning ahead.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that I see is operations, they don't look far enough down the road
Mm-hmm.
to know the big projects that are coming up. If you have something like an engine overhaul and you're not planning at least a year in advance,
Yeah.
especially these days, you may not get a rental engine. and you're going to be waiting on parts. Your plane's going to be down for weeks or months,
Mm-hmm.
and it ends up being way more expensive and time consuming than what you know might have assumed. So you got to take a detailed look way down the line in the future and know what to expect.
Okay, good. Good for food for thought. I suppose that works in a lot of our uh, planning just in general in life. Although I would say trying to find an engine, again, I'm not in that section, but trying to find an engine at the last minute does not sound like an easy feat at all.
No, it's definitely getting harder and harder every year. This just the availability is not there like it used to be.
Interesting. Okay, so for those who might want to explore Aloft Evermore, where should they go and what could they expect from a demo or a trial?
Sure. So you can go to aloftevermore.com.
Okay.
That's MOR.com, no E at the end.
Okay.
Um, and there's a link right at the top of the homepage to request a demo. You just fill out your information and we'll get something scheduled. We can just do a really quick, 10 to 15 minute demo to give you an overview of what to expect with the app. Um, Also, for vendors, we're onboarding for Evermore RFQ right now, so that's evermorerfq.com.
Okay.
Um, Operators can also go there and sign up to be notified as soon as it's live for operators,
Great.
um, and hopefully we'll make some good progress on that in the next couple of months.
Great. And I'll make sure those details are put down in the details of the podcast there, so people can just click on them. So awesome.
Perfect.
Well, that has been a really great conversation, Mark. I'm so excited to do that because I know we've been talking about your app for a while, and I've been excited and watching it being launched and everything. So this is great to talk to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Leslie. Thanks, Lindsay. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, very cool. Well, again, great conversation. I'll wrap it up really again with a huge thank you to you, Mark, for joining us today, and I appreciate you sharing your story. Love your vision and your insights into how smarter maintenance planning is shaping the future of business aviation. I really do. I think that's so cool, and we all really need to pay attention to that. So again, like Mark said, if you would like to learn more about his company, Aloft Evermore, it's aloftevermore.com, like he said, without the E at the end. You can also connect with Mark directly on LinkedIn. He regularly shares updates on innovation, forecasting, leadership, etc. It's great, so find him there. And as always, we appreciate you for tuning into the LD Aviation Podcast, where we highlight the people and ideas that are keeping our industry moving forward, using proactive ownership, relentless reliability, and grace under pressure. So if you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to follow it, rate it, and share it, because it helps more aviation professionals find these conversations. You can also follow LD Aviation on LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube for behind-the-scenes stories, updates, and future episodes. I'm Lindsay Dyer, and on behalf of the LD Aviation team, thank you for spending your time with us today. And until next time, stay proactive, stay prepared, and stay aloft.